Oh, hold on. Oh,
I think did you send it to me from somebody else?
we're live right now, actually. So
Oh, there we go.
Ahead
Okay,
and
never mind.
Yeah, let's go on ahead and let this kick off just a second.
Promise to help each other, celebrate the joys of life, and to console each other.
Hello. I am sorry, but I must interrupt this show. You know what it is? Hey, Ham Solo. It's time, baby. Low. It's time how we do. Hey. They said we said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said we go. We say that you heard right. 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 They said we said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said we go. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you man, I swear that it's imminent. I've been going so hard on my penmanship. About to go in and buy me a whip. And I pull that shit fresh off the dealership. I can leave you in red like an Xbox. Got me laughing at you like you red fox. Got you chasing Hot Wheels like a matchbox. EA running the game and it don't stop. Super cold like I'm playing for Blizzard. Got you all in my sights like Red Dead Redemption. Never gonna slip on my pimpin'. Better get out my way, bitch, I'm on a mission. Really ain't no competition. I'm steady grilling opposition. I'm get up and ready to win. They can play it how they play, but fuck what you say. I'm getting this money today. Last of us like a dying breed. Down the ride like a noble steed. Fatality moves, I make you bleed. That's on any game, that's on any screen. Shut up and give me your money. They said we so lit. Even if I take an L, we coming back just to show that we don't quit. They said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said we go.
Technical difficulties brought to you by Ham Solo 05 Gaming. Anyways, hello everybody. Welcome back to TSWS Gaming with your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming here with you on another episode of Behind Them Sticks. And lo and behold, I got the brother from Mr. Or not Mr. but from Kind of Funny Games. I don't know why I started with the Mr., but okay, we'll just run with that. So so Snowbike Mike, good to have you here, brother. Look at you. Look at you. Looking
That is
good.
the first Mr. Snowbike Mike I've ever gotten, so I'll take it. I'll take that today.
Hey, you're coming up. You're coming up.
Man, let me tell you what, that intro made me smile from ear to ear. That is a hype intro to kick off the podcast. I absolutely love that.
You talking about like the song and whatnot?
Oh my, the song with all your gaming highlights, you dunking on somebody, Justin Fields taking it to the house for 60. That's just a lit intro, ladies and gentlemen.
Shout out to my bro Leonard Ray, because that's the artist that made the song, and I've known him since I was 5 years old, and I mean, dude is dope. Dude is a really good artist and whatnot. But it's hard for the brother to get heard around these streets nowadays because there's so much music out here, man. There's good music, there's terrible music, and then there's just stuff. But like, anyways, I'm happy to have you here, man. It's been a long time coming. Finally got you here. But before we even get started and get into talking about everything and having a good time, I want you to first let everybody know where they could find you.
Yeah, of course. Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy Snowbike Mike, the master of hype. Of course, you can find me on all social medias at Snowbike Mike, over on Twitch at Snowbike Mike. And of course, I'm repping the Kind of Funny crew over at Kind of Funny Games on YouTube and on Patreon, where you'll see all of our podcasts and shows that I help host and produce on the weekly.
No doubt. Thank you again so much for coming through here and giving me a little bit of time a day. And, it was really cool being able to finally meet you in person out at PAX East. That was really interesting.
Oh, yeah, man. That is the best way for people to find me is in person. As you know, I do apologize. I rarely ever check social media in the DMs. And so if you see me in person, you're going to get all of me. And not even my mama gets enough of me. So it's very difficult to get a hold of me sometimes.
No doubt. No, it's like that normally. It's nothing that I haven't, dealt with trying to track down and get interviews taken care of and whatnot. I've had to email certain people, had to hit people up on different, platforms to talk to them. And, it's just the day in the life of, trying to, interview people. So
of course.
I'm just definitely, very happy to have you here today. But without any further ado, let's actually get into the actual show and whatnot. I got some very interesting questions that I got to ask you. I got some stuff that, I usually ask people, and then some stuff that I can only ask you.
Oh,
But
okay.
for instance, I seen you doing the Pokemon thing earlier where you're helping bro get caught up, and it looks like you knew exactly what the heck you were doing, but it didn't look like everybody else knew exactly what was going on. Can you talk about what was going on earlier in your show today?
Yeah, over on Kind of Funny on YouTube and on Twitch, me and the boys have been going through a Pokemon adventure. It is our buddy Nick Scarpino's first ever time playing Pokemon. So it has been a journey learning the mechanics, replaying such an incredible old game with Fire Red, and going back to the old G Gen 1 version. But it's something special, right? We were going to do a Pokemon Nuzlocke. For some of you who might not be familiar with Pokemon Nuzlocks, that's how you kind of challenge and make like a hardcore mode for Pokemon. So you're technically only allowed to catch the first Pokemon you encounter in each route. You're only allowed to hold on to the Pokemon until they faint or pass out, and then you have to let them go. And so we made it really difficult on him. Probably not the best way to introduce somebody to a video game series, but we've had a really fun journey learning and growing together in the Pokemon world.
Okay, so to that, what made you guys decide to, catch brother up on Pokemon like this? Like what led to this decision to now be streaming bro figuring out what the heck he's doing?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of Call of Duty with him, so it's interesting that we've now landed on Pokemon. But that's the beauty of my job over with Kind of Funny. I am tasked with hosting and producing all of our daily live streams After Games Daily, and of course the new Gamescast format. And so we have a lot of time. We have a lot of days. We've done over 850 streams since I was brought on to lead up the streaming team. And so it's a lot of time to kind of play with the formula, try new games, and see where we go. So we've gone from Call of Duty, Valorant, to your normal daily stuff, to Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Fantasy, and now we're on Pokemon. And so I think it's always fun to change up the format, try new streaming ideas, and especially when you can get someone who maybe it's their first experience, especially with an iconic franchise like that, where that the audience community is going to rally behind it. It makes for some really fun Twitch streams.
I really thought it was cool the way you guys implemented the whole idea of naming each of the Pokemons by the people that are engaging with your guys' chat and stuff like that. I thought that was a nice little touch. But Raichi in the chat just a moment ago said, "What happens when you catch a Magikarp?" and I don't know what any of this stuff.
Oh wow! Okay, so I take it you're unfamiliar with Pokemon then.
I am very unfamiliar. Like during when the Pokemon craze was going on, I was on the Dragon Ball Z side.
Oh, I like that. Well, then maybe one day you should try it. I do encourage everyone to check out Pokemon because it is so special. But of course, Magikarp, if I was to describe it to you, it would be a goldfish. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, Mike, I don't want to battle with a goldfish. You probably can't do anything. And the Magikarps can't do anything until you get to a certain level and it becomes the ultimate Pokemon. And that was a special moment on the stream, showing Nick a Magikarp and saying, "You're going to love this fish." And him going, "This fish doesn't do anything." And then it transforming into a god, which was pretty special to watch.
So we got god tier goldfish in Pokemon.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I see what's going on. I don't know if you can speak on this or not. I'm just kidding. But seeing that you're kind of a big fan of Pokemon, what were your thoughts and sentiments kind of around the whole Pal World?
Oh, you know what? I really loved Pal World. I don't want to say I'm one of the few because it looked like millions of people took advantage of Game Pass and gave this new game a try. So I don't want to say I'm one of the few, but I feel like I'm one of the few who really loved Pal World. I know that it was kind of shrouded in some controversy of, are they stealing assets from Pokemon? Is it all too similar? But when we talk about the game itself, the moment-to-moment gameplay, I fell in love with that. I am someone who really loves playing video games in a multiplayer fashion with my friends. And when you talk about survival crafting games like Ark and, of course, Valheim, I adore those games. It's more time that you and I get to spend in a world and create our own stories and moments. And to add that with a Pokemon layer where you can catch and battle these Pokemon-like creatures, I absolutely adored it. So I am a big Pal World fan.
Yeah, man. I mean, you said Ark, which kind of melted my heart just a little bit because, I mean, me and the wife each have over 100 days into that game.
Cool.
So Love that game. And like
Oh.
anytime we hear somebody talk about it, we're like, that dude's cool.
Okay, we got to park the bus really quick on that. What map y'all play? Do you have a preferred map? Because I know Ark is pretty big. They got a lot going on in it. Are you an OG map guy, you too, or do you guys go somewhere else with it?
I really enjoyed the center a lot, just for the views and stuff like that it had, because it was beautiful with all the waterfalls, and it was like there's like a floating island there in the middle. There was like what seemed like 6 different waterfalls that it was surrounded by. Ragnarok was one of my favorites as well, just because it had so many different resources and so many different types of, it had desert, it had cold, it had the plains in it, it had the lava, it had the wyverns in it. Because before, back in the OG days, and I mean, now you pulled this out of me.
Oh yeah, I got you now.
So back in like the OG days, so back when it was like in game preview, there was only the center and the island, right, that were really available. At first, really, it was just the island.
Yes.
And then it was the center and the island, and I started to really play it during that time when the center got implemented in there, which is supposed to be like a crowd map or like a fan-made kind of piece of Ark or whatnot, which is really cool. But like the island and in the center were very similar in resources in the way like the maps kind of reacted and did stuff, right? Except the island had the volcano that erupted or didn't erupt back then. Now it's able to or whatnot, but back then it didn't so much, but it was supposed to back then. But then as they evolved, they got that desert map that I'm trying to remember what it's called. Scorched Earth.
Yes.
Scorched Earth in there, and that brought in wyverns, and it also brought in like the bearded dragon looking things, the other dragons that you could ride and like do crafting and stuff on and whatnot. And then it was like, well, now I got to go from the island or the center and then travel over to Scorched Earth and thirsty and starving over there because it was hard to find water over there. So then you got to create a base over there and whatnot. So then when they finally brought Ragnarok, it was like, now I have everything in one map and I don't have to travel. And it was amazing. So like, I'd probably say like resource wise, Ragnarok is my favorite map. In the sense of just like sheer beauty, but also like pure love for the game. I'm kind of a slut for the center, man.
I love that. I love hearing that, and it's you talking about you and your wife playing that together. That's something special to me because that's me and my friends, right? Xbox actually got a second Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership out of me because I bought another Xbox with a secondary account so it could host our Ark server so we all could play at the same time, nonstop and not be tethered. Like Xbox got an extra $14 a month out of me because of Ark. So shout out to that
like
one.
Nitrado or something like that, or some kind of like weird server, like third-party server thing that they used to use where you could keep your Xbox just on all the time, and you just like kept it in a room, just like a server type room, pretty much. Like this is just on all the time, 24/7. And
we have evolved to that, is right. We're paying different companies to host our third-party servers now all the time. So yes, I know that all too well. And yeah, Ark, Ark is one of the major factors of why I also got into PC gaming, was games like Ark and PUBG, actually, where you weren't seeing many of these survival early access multiplayer games like Battle Royales as well on Xbox and PlayStation at that time, right? I think we've seen a big shift now of early access titles coming to the consoles now, but it always started with PCs. And that's surprisingly why I kind of got heavily into PC gaming, because I wanted to play these hot new games that were being live streamed on Twitch that I wasn't seeing on the consoles at the time.
No doubt, man. It got deep for Ark for me and the wife, because since you brought that up, I ended up actually getting my wife's dad into the game. He has like 90 plus, maybe around 100 days in the game as well. And then he also purchased another Xbox to do exactly what you're talking about, to have another server so we could have our own family server, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But like, and then I had a few friends from like back in my hometown that were and we're all in the tribe together talking, and it was just super cool. Everybody building their own bases. Oh yeah, you go to Ragnarok, I'm gonna hit the island, and you go to the center, and we're gonna build a base all there separate, and yeah, it was just amazing.
Special time. So sticking with that really quick, we talk about Power World. Have you and the wifey tried Power World?
Yes, my wife got super stuck into Power World as well as I did, and so did my daughter. In fact, she still really loves Power World. It's pretty accessible for her. It's still kind of tough because she's only 6 and she can't really read super well yet. So I have to help her a lot through like the crafting and stuff like that. But I just point her in a couple directions and she figures out the rest of it. And she really likes the idea. I mean, she calls it the Pokemon game and whatnot.
Yes, exactly.
But which I'm sure Pokemon hates.
Yeah, I probably called the Pokemon game a lot because it's almost like the dream Pokemon game, right? It is going out and experiencing this journey of seeing Pokemon, quote unquote, capturing them, battling them with friends, right? I've always wanted to share that with my friends in Pokemon, and I haven't got that yet.
Hey man, it's only their fault for allowing there to be room for that to happen.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's not Power World's fault. It's not their You left the door open and they walked in. That's what happened. But anyway, so we're talking about Power World. We're talking about Pokemon, and obviously Pokemon is something probably nostalgia to you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. When I think back of when gaming all started, it was definitely, the N64, the PS1, and when mom and dad for Christmas got me and my little brother Game Boy Pockets. And the first games with the Game Boy Pockets were Pokemon Red and Blue. And I am that 90s kid that lived through the Pokemon craze when you really look at it and think about it, right? Before I went off to elementary and middle school, Pokemon played on the TV before we walked out the door, right? It was Pokemon and X-Men and Sailor Moon. And then when we got home, it was Pokemon cards and Pokemon on the Game Boy Pocket. So Pokemon is definitely one of the entries into video game fandom for me.
Okay, so would you say that it was probably like the prize IP during that moment of first getting into gaming, or was there some other IP that kind of helped you into gaming on its own?
Pokemon would probably be a big one. I think at the time when you restricted yourself to just the Game Boy Pocket, it probably wasn't my desired way to play. I think when I think of like the desired IP that really got me in, it would be the N64 with Gauntlet Legends, Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, and Rampage World Tour, right? Like this was the iconic time of sitting around the TV with mom, dad, my little brother, and playing on the N64 and just going through nothing but third-party Nintendo games, which I think always blows people's mind of I never played a Mario or a Zelda. Wow. Barely ever played Smash Bros. It was oddly weird third-party games that we couldn't get enough of. Kobe Bryant's Courtside, Madden NFL 1994, whatever, something weird like that, right? Like we were playing a lot of third-party games on our Nintendo 64.
So were you so during that time, I'm wondering, like on the 64, sure. Did you get into like Wayne Gretzky hockey and stuff like that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yes. Gretzky hockey that morphed to me for NHL Hits over on the PS2, right? Like when you talk to me, it will be a big one of I loved NFL Street, NBA Street, NHL Hits, MLB Slugfest, any of these arcadey sports games, SSX Tricky, one of the GOATs, were really a big gateway as well for me. I loved all them.
Yeah, man. NFL Blitz, especially when they made the like career version of it where they had Lawrence Taylor in it and stuff like that. That was
man. That was special stuff. And to see where it morphed into, of course, with Blitz the League, where the NFL was like, hey, we don't really want you to use our license anymore. And that team was like, okay, well, we'll figure it out ourselves. And
sure did.
Proceeded to make Any Given Sunday the football video game. And it was awesome to watch.
It was phenomenal. They had 2 of them, one for the original Xbox and then another one for the 360 and whatnot. Those games were phenomenal. Definitely some of my favorite. But moving on down the line. So once you kind of got into gaming, what was your like first like main way of playing? Was it like handheld, as you were saying, talking about the Game Boy and whatnot, or was it like console in front of a TV gaming?
It was always console in front of the TV gaming. I think, when we look back on my gaming history, it all started with the N64 and Game Boy that mom and dad got us. And then it morphed into, oh man, I'm over at my best friend AJ's house and we're playing Halo 1 into Halo 2 on the Xbox and the Xbox 360. We're playing Guitar Hero. We're playing Fusion Frenzy. We're playing the OG Call of Duty games, right? Like those were really the big touchstones in the beginning for me of what gaming would be and has always been for me. And it's oddly never me alone. It's me with friends playing video games. That's what I think is so interesting about my gaming journey.
No doubt. So I got a question, because you didn't really talk too much about like Sega or the PlayStation. Where were you at for those consoles in particular?
Yeah, so the Sega was the first console I've ever seen in my life. That was from my cousin. Cousin Peter came over one year and had the Sega with Sonic and Aladdin. And that was the first time we ever seen a home console inside of the house where I lived. And I'll never forget seeing the all black Boomerang controller with the 3 buttons on the side and looking at that for a weekend. But we never got one of those. We got a PS1 for Christmas from my grandmother. Actually, a week later, we asked my mom, could we trade this in for an N64? Because it was early in the PS1 life cycle. So every time we went to Blockbuster, N64 had 2 aisles of games that you could rent, while the PlayStation had 1 small shelf. And so, was it the wrong decision? Probably. But it was the right decision for us as kids at the time who would go to Blockbuster on Friday nights because they'd had more games in the library at the time.
Okay, so I mean that makes a lot of sense, and I remember being a kid walking through those aisles trying to figure out what I was going to play, and depending on the system that you had, I mean, you either had like you either had a mile to walk or you had a couple steps. So like I remember for the Dreamcast, it was always a couple steps, right, and whatnot. But so with that being said, the PlayStation was obviously something that was short-lived for you. What would be like some of the games that you regretted when you were a kid that you wanted to play after you got rid of it? Or did you ever go back and actually just get those in?
No, the only games that I really wish that I didn't miss out on, like I enjoyed the Twisted Metals. I enjoyed the Lara Croft Tomb Raiders. Those are the things I think back on. But I got a PS2 with Grand Theft Auto and NCAA football when I really was going through the PS2 craze. But, the Final Fantasies of the world, the Sly Coopers, probably the Spyros. I got my Crash Bandicoot fix, but there wasn't many games where I look back and go, oh man, I missed that, right? I think that's what makes everybody's gaming journey so unique, is the things that they have touchstones for and they don't. But I don't think there was a single moment where I look back and go, man, I wish we kept that PlayStation over the N64, because I loved every moment with that console.
All right, a really curious question that I like to ask people is like, so you said that your grandmother got you the original PlayStation, correct?
Yep.
Parents, I'm assuming, got you the Game Boy, and
yes,
and they assisted with you with the N64, I'm sure, to get that traded in and get the cash correct and get other games and stuff like that. I'm wondering, like, what was like the sentiment in the house when it came to like games early on, like before you guys actually ended up having video games? What was it like saying, hey mom, let me cop that, or something like that? Like were they really willing to do that? Were they nervous? Some people back in the day, like, don't play that devil stuff, like, right? Like some people came in like Catholic family and stuff like that, and some Catholic families were very open, some were very closed. So what was your family kind of like? And not to say that you guys are Catholic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. No, I think my mom and dad were both pretty open to it. We were a family that had a lot of sports during the weekend, so we were out quite a bit. And so when we had home time, it was supposed to be a nice, relaxing time to kick it around the house and enjoy ourselves. My mom also worked at IBM when we were very young, so I think she was kind of on the hipper side of computers and this next wave of technology that era would kind of usher in. And so I don't think there was a big hesitance to it. I think there was a hesitance once she started seeing me and my brother form patterns of maybe playing too long into the night. Or, for example, the perfect example I always give was WWE wrestling. in the house. We got the video games, which then led to me and my brother pile driving and suplexing each other on the couch, which I think my parents got really worried we were going to hurt each other. And so that was quickly taken away from us. So that's the only game I can remember that probably caused some family conflict and was promptly taken away, probably at the right age. But other than that, no, there was never truly any, oh, we shouldn't have this in the house.
No doubt. I got another question to ask on top of that, but before I do that, I'm just gonna let everybody know thank you for coming through, watching the show and whatnot. Shows that we got 20 plus people here between Twitter and
heck
YouTube
yeah.
right now. So I appreciate you guys watching. And make sure you guys hit that like button if you haven't already. Share this out. Most importantly, let everybody know Snowbike Mike is here. Snowbike Mike, if you want to if you want to share it out, you're more than welcome to do it as well. But anyways, to keep this thing kind of moving and keep this train chugging. The next question I got for you is, as gaming evolved more and more, and you were playing a lot on like the Nintendo and stuff like that. So I mean, it's safe to say, sure, they had some games that kind of, were a little extra sometimes, but those were mostly like your Sega games, your Sony games and stuff like that, and maybe like 3DO or something like that randomly, right? But as gaming evolved, and as you said you expanded, your taste buds onto other places and whatnot. Sounds weird saying that, but anyways, you start trying to little taste testers over here, little taste testers over there. You told me you had a PS2, right? What was it like? And maybe you were too old at the time, maybe you were still young. I don't know how old you are, and I'm not here to judge. I don't care. But what I am going to go on ahead and say is, like, what was it like around the household when you started to see stuff on the news like Grand Theft Auto 3 and how inappropriate it was? What was it like in your household having that, be an issue in the real world?
Yeah, I am the perfect example of Grand Theft Auto 3 because I was 11 years old at the time of that game coming out. So I am like almost the perfect age of video games were definitely at the forefront for myself and my little brother. My mom and dad were clearly aware of what was being said and shown on the news around that game. And so, yeah, it was a very interesting time. I don't think we ever truly sat down and talked about M rating mature video games and had that talk. I'm sure if we asked my mom, she'd probably say I tried to keep them away from it at all times. But I think, with my friend groups and how old we were definitely playing Grand Theft Auto at the middle school to high school level very quickly when we were not 18, of course. And so, yeah, there was never a true conversation about that. I don't know if it ever affected and changed me. Maybe it did, but I will say we were definitely playing those games, those mature titles at a young age.
Okay, with that being said, like, what do you think maybe your sentiment is towards that now that you're an adult? And like, I don't know if you have kids of your own or whatnot, but if you do, or if you happen to sometime, later on in life, like, how would you feel knowing that you were 11 and then they turn 11 and Grand Theft Auto, let's be real, 7 comes out?
Yeah.
It'd be 10, 20 years. It's probably going to be Grand Theft Auto 7. But anyways, how would you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, what an interesting question and situation, because of course I am single. I do not have a wife, a girlfriend, or any children, so I have not had to cross that bridge. And it is really interesting to see the new world we kind of live in. Of course, I grew up, I think, at the forefront of mature video games, that being shown, especially in Grand Theft Auto and what that was portraying. And now today, when I look around and I see the younger generation with iPads, iPhones, all the game consoles in front of them playing Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Grand Theft Auto 5 is at the forefront of everything, Minecraft, Roblox. And there is this big discussion to be had. And there's definitely way smarter people than me and people that have families who, really do a great job. I think Patrick Klepek does an incredible job talking about gaming as a parent and what it is to show games to his kids. I think that's a really great person to follow and listen to. But yeah, I've never had to cross that bridge, and it will be interesting one day if and when I have kids, hopefully, to do that. But I think you're actually more of the person to ask, because you have a daughter, right? And you talk about this of playing Pal World and what that looks like, even, you know, with a gun in that game or a bow and arrow shooting these little cute sheep Pokemon and pals. What do you think about that?
I'll tell you what, like I was really worried about it at first, but when my daughter looked over at me and said, "Daddy, this isn't real," it kind of made me a little less cautious, because then I'm like, she understands that, hey, this can't happen in the real world. And sure, I'm gonna have to reiterate that as she gets older and older, because yeah, it's cute and yeah, she's innocent, but she can't do much as a young child right now, right? So she doesn't have the accessibility or like the like frame of mind to really go out and do anything of those natures and whatnot. So like her playing it in the game right now to me is just so outside of the element of reality for her that I don't think that it's that detrimental. But I also don't have her playing like Resident Evil and stuff like that either. Like Pal World, sure, she thinks the game is really cute. She doesn't really think about the whole violence side of it. She doesn't like focus hard into the violent part, and she's like, not like, I'm not gonna kill everything. Like she's not that type of child or whatnot. So like me seeing that she's a pretty level-headed kid in the sense of understanding what's real and what's fake, I'm kind of comfortable with letting her play a little something that might have a little bit of shooty bang bang in it. But but as for like a Grand Theft Auto, I'd like her to understand, what am I reading? You know, I'd like there to be a comprehension level of, would I let this person read, you know, an adult book? And if I let them read an adult book, then why wouldn't I let them play an adult video game? It's the same thing.
Okay. I like that a lot. Yeah,
one's
I think
words, one's visual, and you hear.
As someone who keeps up with the video game industry and news, right, I also look at it as another one of like, I have been really impressed of Nintendo still putting out great family-friendly titles. I love that Xbox has that, so does PlayStation. And I also love when they talk about families and putting families first and thinking about restrictions and ensuring that family children's accounts are protected in certain ways and making sure that we can protect the kids from online harassment, trolling, engagement, making sure that they see a catalog that is tailored to them and not something that shouldn't be shown to a younger child. I do appreciate that, and I'm blessed that there's really great minds working on that.
Yeah, shout out to Ray G. He says kids in the 2000s played Conquered, and I tell you what, that's why we got so many sick bastards running around right now.
I was one of those kids, and I played a lot of Conquer, so yes, I know that well.
Well, I usually don't say this to my guests, but you're a sick bastard. But anyways, no, it's all good. So moving on from kind of the child topic and like what, you know, they kind of thought. I mean, actually to kind of continue on that a little bit, like, so how old would you have been when the 360 came out?
Yeah, I was a freshman going into sophomore year of high school. I will never forget it. This was the last console that my parents ever bought for me before I became a grown adult and did it with my own money. But the Xbox 360 was my high school and early college console. It was everything to me. Me and my mom waited outside of a Circuit City on a frosty, cold November night. I'll never forget, out in Boulder, Colorado. And it was one of the coolest moments ever to be with my mom, being in a Circuit City line overnight with other families and adults who were all about video games and excited about this console launch, and then going off to school the next morning and coming home to see my mom, who had the Xbox 360 in hand, NBA Live 06 with Dwayne Wade on the cover, and the opportunity to play the next generation after what was the OG Xbox, with all of my memories with Halo 2 and beyond. So yeah, the Xbox 360 was big for me, really big.
Yeah, talk about it a little bit. So, like, I want to know, like, where your head was kind of at. Like, a lot of people pick one or the other. Was it Halo or was it Gears? Which one were you just like, you know, your flag was up and it was which one?
You know what? If we have to go one or the other, it would be Halo, because I'm just bad at Gears. I could never get the wall bounce correct. I could never get the Nasher shotgun to just hit like it should, but I truly was a both kid. I was really blessed in an era of we had our time with Halo 2 before that 360 launch and onward, right? Where we played a lot of Halo 2, me and the group. And when you saw that first flash of Gears, you said, well, what's that? I got to go see what that's all about. And of course, the iconic trailer with Mad World playing all the time. I played both of them and loved both of them. But if we were to put Halo 3 or Gears together at that era, I was definitely grabbing Halo 3 and I was running around with the Hayabusa armor on.
Gotcha. All right. So, I mean, this man said he was working in Halo.
I'm trying my best, that's for sure.
All right. So, with that being said, so the 360 was a big deal for you. That was the last console that your parents hooked it up with before they were like, get your ass out here and go figure it out for yourself. Where were you at? And maybe where was your family at? Because this is, you starting to grow up and, start to get out the house more, do your own thing. You're getting ready to, maybe go to college or do something, more on your own than living under your parents. What was the family like once you left them, like in the sense of gaming? Like, did they get into like the Wii, or did they get into or into like the PS3? Because remember back in those times, the Blu-ray, that was the cheapest Blu-ray player you could get and whatnot. So I'm just kind of curious, because I know there was a lot of adults that were not into video games that went out and bought a PS3 so they could have a Blu-ray player. I know that is a fact.
Yeah,
but I want to hear what was your experience.
So my family, of course, had my little brother who was 4 years younger than me. He was a PC gamer. He loved Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, and Warcraft 3. So he was mainly on the PC after I left home. But you know what? Surprisingly, my mom and dad weren't gamers. They gave a little bit of their time to the N64 to kind of be around us and celebrate that. But after that, they never played games. They were never interested in games. And so we weren't a family where I'd go back home on a winter or Thanksgiving break and see them playing the Wii or any sort of interesting games. It was very much just me and my brother, and that was the only people playing games in the house.
Okay. So now, I'm not sure if you left or not, but like, let's say, situation. I'm going to put a situation in front of you.
Yep.
You graduate high school. And let me ask you first before I continue to create the situation. Did you go to college?
I did. I went to Lake Tahoe Community College. Shout out.
All right. How about that? So you you turn 18, you go to college. Where did the idea come from that, hey, I'm going to kind of invest a little bit more into gaming? Not like when did you start content creating, but when did you decide that, hey, I really like this and I kind of want to, start trying to make somewhat of an effort to figure out how to get into the scene? Where were you at that point?
So before I ever made an effort to get into the scene, gaming had already taken over. Once I got the 360 and it was in the house, I was the worst. I was playing video games every single night for hours on end. I must have been the worst friend. If we could ask some of my old high school friends, I would leave them waiting at their house to go to a Friday night party or Saturday night party for hours because I just wanted to play Halo. I think that's probably what my parents were so happy was I was always at the house because I didn't really care to go out at that time because I was just gaming. I enjoyed doing that. And so I think gaming has always been in me. You'll still see to this day, my habits are very similar. I can spend all day and all night playing games and having fun, and that's just kind of me. And so when I went off to college, it was a great gateway to meet new people. We all moved into the college dorms. We had our doors open. I was playing Skate. That attracted people to come into the room and say hello and introduce themselves, play a round of, Skate with me. Or when we all gather around and played Fallout 3 for the first time and experienced this epic story, me, Matt, and Ethan for hours on end. So yeah, it's always been gaming. But when we talk about, hey, putting more time and effort and looking into what could gaming be past just a hobby, that wouldn't happen until 2015. So at that time, I'd be 25. I'd be far out of college working a full-time job and still playing 6 to 8 hours a day. So it's just kind of what was happening at the time.
I'm going to stop you then.
Yeah.
And before you got to the age of like 25 and whatnot, so in between the ages of 18 to 25, what was like your shtick? What was like your like hobby outside of what you do regularly now? I mean, gaming was obviously a piece of it, right? But what was like the idea of where you thought you were gonna be going?
Oh my God. At 18 to 25, I was at community college for 3 whole years. And then I started working a full-time job probably on that second to third year. So at the time I was working full-time at the local ski resort up in Lake Tahoe. So my life was school, video games, and a job. And I loved what I did. I loved working up at the local mountain resort, Heavenly. I loved ski and mountain culture. And so for me, it was my off times would be skiing and snowboarding. If you're asking me like what I did away from the television, it would be being at work and then being up on the mountain with friends and family. So I loved skiing. That was a big passion of mine. And then finish up skiing, come home and start playing Amped or SSX Tricky again.
Yeah, that's where the Snow Bike Mike sounds like it came from, right?
Yeah, of course.
Snow games.
Yes. So I worked at, so my first, I like to say my first and only job. I had a couple jobs beforehand when I was 16 to 18, but my first true job and my only job up until Kind of Funny was working at Heavenly Mountain Resort as a food and beverage cashier. I worked on the ski resort. I worked at a restaurant. I worked all the way up from a general service cashier to assistant manager, where I worked there for 13 years, 18 to 32. It was my life. It was my passion. It was my family. Video games brought me closer with a lot of employees because they knew I was gaming. A lot of them were gaming. And so it made great conversations. It made great friends where we would come home and talk about Destiny 2, Overwatch. People would be asking me what I'm playing, what's cool. We'd watch E3 together, me and some of the bosses. And so, work and gaming just kind of went hand in hand.
That's what's up, man. But you did say you were in school at the time, and obviously it took a turn into you, diving into gaming and whatnot. Were you more into were you trying to become a doctor, or was there anything like that you were aspiring to be before you actually kind of picked up steam with the game?
No, I had zero plan. I wish I could rewind time and do it all over again because I was an absolute jabroni. I was a young kid who really put too much time into video games. I wish I had a better head on my shoulders, but I will say when I was 18, I had the dream of being a kinesiologist, a physical therapist, because I wanted to stick around sports. I was a basketball player all throughout high school, and I wished that I could continue basketball in sports in some way, and I wanted to be around that world. And I thought, man, I'm going to become a sports physical therapist. I'll work with the team and I'll still have basketball in my life. And then we went to one, nutrition class. We went to another biology class, and I quickly said, man, I'm not smart enough for any of this. And that dream went out the window within the first 3 months of school.
Yeah, this man got cooked. All right. He said
absolutely cooked. I was taking ballroom dance. I was taking intermediate yoga. I was taking basketball and bowling classes. I was doing everything in my power to avoid any sort of mainstay class that I would have to take. I took beginner cookie mastery. I was cooking baking stuff. It was a bad time. It was a bad time.
Man, sounds like you were just doing shit.
I was doing something.
Well, all right. So now we finally make it to the more recent times. Okay. So, PlayStation 4, Xbox One's out. Where's your head at? Where's your mind? What are you up to? What's happening?
I mean, I'm gaming, right? At that point, I am a grown adult working a full-time job. I have money to spend, and gaming is the hobby. And so I will never forget when the Xbox One came out. At that time, we had a big blizzard, which I drove through the blizzard in the pitch black winter darkness up on top of a mountain, all the way down 30 minutes down a mountain pass to go to the local Carson City GameStop to buy the Xbox One at midnight launch, driving back home. I also traded in my PS3. I think GameStop was having a special bundle where if you traded in your PS3, they'd give you $200 or something crazy for a PS4. Yep. And so I was gaming, and it was big for me. I had my own money, and I probably should have saved a lot more of it, but I was spending it on games, and that was my passion. That's what I wanted to do.
No doubt. So 2013 comes, you get your Xbox One. You're playing it, having a good time, I'm sure. Saying Xbox, volume down, snap.
Oh my God. Give me the Kinect. Give me Nike Plus Trainer. Give me Rise, Son of Rome. Give me NCAA football with the Kinect controls where I was hiking and audibling out of the plays. What a wild time to be.
I mean, it was phenomenal. But let me go on ahead and ask in particular. So 2015 rolls through, right? And you said that was the time that you started doing it. What was that the time that you started doing like podcasting and stuff like that? 2015?
That's when I said I'd like to try. And so I think when we rewind the clock, if you think about me as a college kid from about the window of 18 to maybe 21, and I think the fun part about this is when we ask people around me and they kind of get to know me a little more, is I wasn't really a big YouTube kid. I was not watching YouTube videos at the time growing up. I wasn't aware of kind of the internet culture. I was very much of like, I played games by my, online and by myself essentially, and I'd go off to work or hang out with family, but I was never really on a YouTube watching content creators, we'll call it. And so from 18 to 22, I think I got into IGN of looking up reviews, watching and listening to some of their podcasts like Podcast Beyond with Colin and Greg. And then, of course, Podcast Unlocked with my hero, Ryan McCaffrey and his crew, right, that have cycled throughout the years. And so I started becoming a little more aware of podcasts and what IGN was and what they did, especially when it came to E3 and all their live coverage that they would show throughout that show on the show floor. And so that at that time I was watching it and I was more aware of it. And that led to 2015 when TwitchCon had their first ever Twitch convention. And at the time, if you remember, Greg, Colin, Nick, and Tim left IGN that year and went off on their own to start Twitch streaming and create Kind of Funny. And at the time, they said they were going to go to TwitchCon. And I said, well, I like these guys. I followed them from IGN. I'm going to go see them at TwitchCon, which we did, me and the girlfriend at the time, Daryl. And we had a ton of fun. And we got in the car and I looked at her and I simply said, I could do that. And she said, you play enough video games, you probably should at least try. And from that point forward, I started Twitch streaming and it became a passion. It became what I wanted to do.
Yeah, man, you took that like a dare. You gonna say that I might as well give it a try? Shit, I'll do it. I'll show you what it is, girl. So you went on ahead, started doing your Twitch stream and whatnot. You got pretty interested in doing it, obviously, because you continued to keep up on it. What was like, and I'm assuming like this is before like Kind of Funny and stuff like that, right? So I want to know, what was like your big moment of like, wow, this is like the right path. This feels right. What was one of those moments?
Yeah, there's probably 2 to 3 big moments. One moment, of course, would be up at work at Heavenly Mountain Resort. We used to throw a big après ski party up at our restaurant. So after the mountain shut down at 4 o'clock, we would hire a DJ, go-go dancers, and we would throw a nightclub-esque party up on top of the mountain together at our restaurant. And at the time, we were hiring all these DJs, go-go dancers, and fun events through this event planner named Drew. And he would come up and host the event with a microphone. He'd get people excited. He'd get them all hyped up. And he was what I like to call the Ryan Seacrest of Northern Nevada and Lake Tahoe. And one day I looked at my fellow manager, Steve, and I said, I could do that, Steve. And he goes, really? And he called Drew over and he said, Drew, hand Mike the microphone. He says he could hype up the crowd. And at that moment, I laughed and they said, give it a try. And I got everybody excited. And you could tell that I wanted to do that. And so that actually morphed from Drew offering me a job to be a part-time host around at different events in Lake Tahoe. So I got to do Thursday night karaoke, blackjack tournaments, New Year's Rockin' Eve, Christmas tree lighting ceremonies, pray for snow parties. All of this started to build into a hosting career that I never thought was possible or really real while I was also Twitch streaming. So that was definitely the first stepping stone of public speaking and being willing to go out there and try something new. And then, of course, in 2017, I want to say, Greg Miller put out the call of, hey, I need people to come delete profiles off of my friends list on PlayStation. If you don't know, I have too many people on my PlayStation friends list, and I want them out of here. And I want somebody to come down here and do it. And so I took a chance. I didn't know Adobe Premiere. I didn't know any sort of basic editing skills. I just knew one take to be great. And so I hit record on OBS. I shot a little video and said, Greg, bring me down. Let me have some fun. And sure enough, Greg gave me the call and said, come on down. Let's have a great time. And that definitely propelled me to a level that I never was at, probably wouldn't be at without their help.
That's what's up, man. I mean, obviously that really pulled you up into another hemisphere, and now you're pretty confident, it seems like, in what you're doing, how you're able to carry yourself. It seems very authentic, and you don't have to, try to be something that you're not, to, move on and conduct your, work.
Yeah, I think it's Greg said something pretty powerful to me not too long ago, and it was one of those of when we finally all got together at Kind of Funny when we opened up the studio, because it was 2 years of work from home when I was first hired, and then we all got together. And I think the team has done a really good job at branching out and guest appearing on podcasts and being hired for events. And Greg looked at me one day because I asked him, I said, what do you do? How do you stay true to yourself? And he goes, Mike, they hired you or they asked you to be on for you. They don't want a different version of you. And, I struggled those first couple times because I don't know. I'm Mike. I'm trying my best. I'm learning. I'm growing. But I always found whenever I was called upon for other things, I would kind of be a different version of myself. I'd be a little bit quieter. I'd be a little more shy. I would probably be what true Mike is, which is a shy introvert guy. But he encouraged me to be me because that's what they wanted. And so, I always remembered that. And I said, I'm just going to go out there and give my all and be myself. And if people like that, they can call me back. If they don't, I'll apologize and probably never see them again. So it was, hey, be your true self. That's what people want to see.
No doubt. I mean, that's a lesson that can be taught over and over and over, and it never seems to get old. And people always need a reminder of that. Yeah. But I've got to ask, what were like some of like the moments where you felt like, all right, I got a grasp of this and I can just grab and go?
Yeah, that would definitely have to be NBA 2K and providing shoutcasting commentary for the local community teams and organizers. I got really lucky with that. This has always been a passion of mine is I love video games. I love podcasting. I love Twitch streaming, but I've always wanted to be Courage JD. I always wanted to be Golden Boy. I want to shoutcast Fortnite and Halo and Call of Duty tournaments. And so at the time, the NBA 2K League was about to announce that they were going to create the NBA 2K League. And so the year prior to that, I had started getting into the NBA 2K Pro-Am community. And I met incredible people like Big West, Ev, Lux. They were these big time guys who were doing NBA 2K community Pro-Am tournaments. And they had somebody in Dirk 2K, who is now the lead NBA 2K League play-by-play announcer, doing community games. And I said, well, I would like to do that. I want to shoutcast, and I know basketball well. What if I did play-by-play? And so I reached out to them, and I'll never forget, I still have the Twitter DM of me and Famous Enough and another guy who brought me and said, Mike, we're going to give you a try. Let's do this. And from that point forward, I was shoutcasting NBA 2K League basketball games, maybe 3 nights a week. And I felt confident. I felt good. And it was fun. It was different. And I think it gave me the strength to know that I could turn on and be ready to rock and roll at a moment's notice.
All right. So obviously, when you feel that confident and you go to do stuff, you feel like you're unstoppable, right?
Yeah, I was feeling good about it. Yeah.
So I want you now to transition and tell me, where was the humbling moment?
Oh my God, every single day. Every day I'm humbled a little bit because I get to work around truly talented and incredible human beings at Kind of Funny Games, like a Greg Miller, an Andy Cortez, a Nick Scarpino, a Barrett Courtney, a Blessing Adeoye Jr., who are creative, who are talented, who are insightful and intelligent. And every single day I'm humbled by just being to get around them, right? Yesterday, you had Greg Miller and Paris Lilly do an interview with Don Matthews from Ninja Theory. And Greg Miller is one of the best interviewers in the games landscape, where he can just connect with people and make them feel comfortable and allow them space to talk and share their story. And I think that's truly incredible. I get to be around Blessing Adeoye Jr., who can create fun, dumb stuff from, Kind of Funny Games Showdown to just real, in-depth and insightful things with the Blessing Show about how video games have been doing a disservice to Black hairstyles, to all of a sudden going out and giving this incredible, passionate speech on Games Daily about layoffs and how companies should be doing better. And so every day I'm humbled by them because I am not as talented, as smart, or as creative as them. And I have to learn and I have to get better. And it drives me crazy because I want to be as good as them. And so, yeah, every day I'm a little humbled. And I know that's probably not the answer you were looking for. You're probably looking for my big failure moment, but every day I'm definitely checked really in my world for sure.
Not really. Like you don't have to fail to be humbled.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could just walk in the room and get humbled.
I'm getting humbled. I'm getting humbled a lot with these guys. I'll tell you what, I'm getting humbled all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to do anything wrong to get humbled. You could just be standing there and you could have been telling your friends, I got the baddest thing, and then look to the right and get humbled.
Yeah, that's me. Is right with these guys. And so, yeah, that's probably my big humbling moment. I mean, another humbling moment was, being let go of work during COVID, right? We're talking about a career that I had started and lived and loved.
Everybody got humbled.
From 18 to 32, right? You're talking about a guy who's never had another job. I was too afraid to leave that job as much as I loved it and hated it and talked about, man, one day I'm going to quit this and I'm going to try something new. I never did that. I was afraid to leave the nest because I am a creature of comfort. And so the day that we all, we stopped the world and all had to go our separate ways for 6 to 8 months, right? But when we did have that real conversation of Twitch now is firing on all cylinders, I'm growing. Kind of Funny has offered me the role to do the weekly XCast with Gary and Alana, to now, hey, they're offering me a full-time job, and having to look at my boss at the time, Steve, who was my brother, my best friend, my mentor, the kind of adult figure in my life, and say, hey, I can't do this anymore. I have to go. That was a humbling and scary moment of like, I don't know if this is the right path and I don't want to do it, but I took the chance and I tried, and it worked out well.
Man, that's pretty dope. So a lot of that stuff comes to fruition for you, and like you're looking to, have a dope career, not feel like you're coming into something that you hate every day, right? So, but even though you're working something that you call somewhat of a dream or an actual dream job, right? There's still, and we were talking about this a little bit before the show started, there's still those moments, even with your most loved job, that you're just like, like today's just not it. Like, I'm just not, like, I'm either not, in a good frame of mind, or somebody else isn't in a good frame of mind and they're bringing me down, or yada, 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 whatever. Was there any times that you can like look back on from where you're at and go back and you wish you could have told yourself something that you feel like maybe, man, I would have been better today if I would have told myself or known this a long time ago?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, the Phil Spencer interview, I look back on, I know that is celebrated, and, Paris and Gary, even myself, we had a great one there, but that is one of like, that was one of my first big interviews, and I was scared. I was nervous. It was coming off the end of Redfall, and I didn't want to ask Phil the hard-hitting questions. I just wanted to have a good time with Phil. That's what I wanted out of that, but, we had to get real with it, and it was a great time. But if I could look at myself now, I'd say, hey, Snowbike Mike, you have the confidence. You're going to be just fine. Go do it. Things like that are probably my biggest ones of looking back and going, you can do this. I think there's a lot of self-doubt. I hear it a lot in the content creation world. I hear it a lot in our kind of industry of like, you have that imposter syndrome of, Should I even be here? Am I that person? But you're here for a reason because people want you around. They want to hear that. And so as much as that self-doubt creeps in, you should feel confident. If I wish I could tell myself that every morning to be confident.
No doubt. And that kind of goes with what it kind of reiterates what you were saying a little bit earlier, just a moment ago, because you were saying that I get humbled every day still, right? And here we are approaching 10 years of Snowbike Mike being behind the camera, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
You're still telling me that in year 8 last year that you were still having some moments of sweaty palms, don't know what to ask, I just want to have a good time, like a little bit of you kind of go into your own shell sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Protection mode, protective.
And I chase that high. I think that's something that I always want, but I would, of course, want to grow and have a little more confidence in. But I do love that moment of the butterflies in your stomach, that nerve setting in of there's a chance that I could fail here, and I'm scared of that. I think that's the athlete and the competition inside of me that wants to chase that high and cross that threshold, right? And be able to end that and either high five everybody around me going, man, we did a great job, or take a deep breath and go, man, I really messed that one up. I can't wait for the next one. And so, yeah, I'm always chasing that. And hopefully every single day I get better and, we can walk out high fiving on all those occasions.
Okay. So now I got a couple questions to ask you, like as a team, like for you and Kind of Funny and stuff like that. These are going to be some kind of fun questions.
I love that.
So, so for the team and you at Kind of Funny, like, has there ever been any moments where everybody was, smiling and having a good time, and then it was like cut, and everybody was like, "What the fuck just happened?" That was a bad time. Like, has that ever happened? I know it's happened for me on my channel.
That has only happened with me, Nick, Andy, and Kevin, the stream team, because of course, when you stream 850 plus times, some days are not going to go as well as we want. We've had a couple of those before, and that's just simply miscommunication. And that's just simply not having the, vision to say, hey, timeout, let's fix this, or let's pause, right? I think you get so caught up in a live production, especially Twitch streaming, where all of a sudden it's just going south and you're not stopping and calling pickle and taking a moment and resetting yourselves. And so, yeah, of course, we've had that situation flare up before with the live streams. But I think the fun part of it is if you look back on the 850, you could probably only count about 5 of those ever being that bad. Other than that, we are smiling and having a great time on it.
Okay. And then for the team as well, like, so you guys seem to gel pretty well together, and that's what a team is supposed to do, right? You guys are supposed to gel, be able to bounce off of each other, have a good time and whatnot. What's it like adding upon like new people and stuff like that to like something so fresh, something so, new, and, as you said yourself, you're kind of learning, as you kind of do this stuff. So what's like onboarding like for like something as, new as being a podcaster for video games?
Well, that's a tough one for me because I am the new employee, right? I'm the last one to be onboarded alongside Roger. So we are the newbies of the team. But I think the coolest part about being a small 11-person business, right, is everybody is together in this. Everybody is growing and learning, and you are encouraged from the beginning to raise your hand, take part, be a part of something, share your ideas, be encouraged to go out and try and fail or succeed. It doesn't matter. I think Greg, Tim, and Nick do a fantastic job at encouraging all of us to get involved and have fun, right? I am blessed to be alongside Alana, Gary, and Paris on the XCast, where it was, my show, quote unquote, but it was our show where there was no Greg or Tim or Blessing in the show. It was just us, right? So you didn't get the mainstays of your Kind of Funny Games Daily or your Games Cast. It was a whole new crew, and we got to take the show wherever we wanted. And so I was really lucky with that. And, I have someone in my ear with Barrett Courtney, who directs and produces the shows on the back end, who is there to encourage me and to talk over show titles and ideas and angles that maybe I didn't think about by myself, or someone like Paris who will look at you and have a real conversation and want to talk about everything with you and have fun and encourage you. Like, you know, the onboarding is fantastic with such a small team of we're all in this together. We all know each other and we all want this business to succeed because we're passionate about Kind of Funny. And so is the audience, and they deserve our very best because we want them to have the best.
Speaking of this business, let's transition to gaming. The reason why we're here today talking to each other, because without gaming, we wouldn't even know each other. So with that being said, so gaming has been wild the past couple of years for sure, especially since pretty much the consoles launched and COVID happened, right? Like gaming has been extra, like, seems unstable in my personal opinion. Like, not to say, you know, I'm completely right or wrong or whatnot. I just, like, personal opinion, this has been looking a little like, what the hell is going on here? Like today, you know, or like, you know, whatever happens today isn't promised to happen tomorrow, is kind of what I'm getting at. So, like, what is your kind of thoughts around the whole, you know, the way Xbox is moving, the way PlayStation is moving, the way Nintendo seems to be moving, and they got a, you know, a new console that they have to think about with, you know, the existing console being something that was insanely successful compared to the prior console before that, which was an utter failure, right? So, like, transitioning that, I think a lot of people are underestimating how hard that is, and they just look at the success of the Switch and they forget how that the Wii was mad successful, then the Wii U happened.
Yeah, we're at a very cool and interesting and, you know, rapidly changing time in the video game industry. And there is a lot of negatives to this that I am not pleased to see. I really dislike watching and being a part of, which is, you know, layoffs and seeing incredibly talented human beings who develop the video games and create the things that I love being laid off for, you know, corporate greed is probably really what it is. But probably. I think the exciting part of it, when we move away from the negatives, which I don't want to gloss over and I don't want to shy away from, because that it does suck. Having a team like Hi-Fi Rush being let go after what they created with that over at Tango Gameworks, like, that sucks. And that should not be happening, right? No way from a $1 trillion company. But I think when we look at the positives is we are in a world of change, and it's rapidly changing, and hopefully a really positive way, right? I like what Xbox and PlayStation have been doing in the Nintendo world. And as a consumer, I'm overloaded with incredibly awesome games, right? Like, there are some talented teams out there making some really dope stuff that I get to play and enjoy, right? And I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there will be some failures. There will be some learning curves in all of these moments from these teams of, does Game Pass succeed? Does buying Activision, Blizzard King, and Bethesda work out for them? Does PlayStation moving towards maybe a more live service oriented world play off for them? Does Nintendo make a Switch 2 that still runs at 720p and 20 frames per second? I don't know, but I'm excited to see it all, you know. But you know, the corporate greed does suck. I think we live in a Fortnite world, and I think that's what's dominated in my mind a lot of decisions being made of is, hey, I want Fortnite. I want a game that captures minds, the culture. I want a game that has people spending their time, their hard-earned money in, and I haven't seen that out of my game studios, because we're making these games that develop for 4 to 5 years, and then they come out, they're played for 6 months to a year, and then we have to go back to the grindstone and make another one. And I think corporations point to that and go, well, why not just make Fortnite? I want a Fortnite game where people are going to stay there for multiple years and spend billions of dollars. Make that for me. And I think teams are like, yo, A, that's not what we want to make. And then B, it's very hard to make that, right? And so I think we're at a very interesting crossroads here right now of what people want and what also is reality of that's probably not what's happening anymore. So it'll be interesting to see.
I mean, I feel like trying to recreate Fortnite is like trying to, I don't know, tell a quarterback to recreate a Hail Mary Super Bowl winning catch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just like, because if I mean, and I'm gonna go on like a 2-minute tangent, or maybe even less than that. But like, if I remember correct, which I've said this on this channel before, I personally believe and think it's a fact that Fortnite was an accident. And people chasing it is like trying to chase recreating a car accident, like like with the exact same dents and everything. And it's just like, dude, good luck with trying to like recreate that specifically. I mean, because that game was marketed as what the name is, Fortnite. You know, like to like fend off zombies and like build and like pretty much create like a base for you and your homies to work and be able to like, you know, pretty much protect. It's a survival game essentially, or is supposed to be. And then they were like, hey, let's make this little side game, and it exploded, and they're like, fuck the regular game. like real shit. That's what happened with it. So in my opinion, I mean, you could, I'm not sure if I'm wrong, but like, I don't know how you could tell a studio to recreate that at all. Like, sure, you can take some elements away, but if you're trying to come up with the same conclusion that they didn't even mean to do that.
No, I don't think they did, but it was the right place, right time situation, right? I think the rise of PUBG, H1Z1, of course, the dominance of Call of Duty and Overwatch at the time. There was this fervor for this battle royale genre, and Fortnite just happened to create it. I think you also can attribute that to the rise of like Twitch and live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, of like all of a sudden everyone is watching this and partaking in this, and the video game culture is surrounding this fun and exciting thing. And now we look back on it, what, almost 10 years ago, probably. I think it was like 2015, 17 window, right, with Fortnite, of like, now people want that. And they go, why didn't I have that? Why didn't we create that? How do we create that now? Because, you know, they're all battling for our time, which is what it's really all about. They want us to stay in their ecosystem. They want us to stay in their game and hopefully milk our time and milk our dollar. And it's tough for them to create those experiences because some of them works, most of them don't.
Shout out to Iman Rich, the swag lord, saying shout out to
What up, homie?
Mike. So I gotta ask you 2 specific questions, and they're on 2 different sides of the pendulum. All right. So the first one is, without talking about layoff, tell me the one thing that you're really nervous about when it comes to gaming.
The one thing I'm really nervous about when it comes to gaming. Great question there. What am I really nervous about besides layoffs? Layoffs suck and shouldn't be happening. But what I'm nervous about, you would think that as the Xbox guy, I would just start spouting off about Xbox, but it's not really like that. I guess what I'm nervous about when it comes to gaming is, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I guess I'll take the easy answer and let's just focus on Xbox because I'm the Xbox guy, that I love Xbox. I am nervous that Xbox is still struggling to deliver on quality titles that I, as the consumer and Xbox fan, want from them. I think we've talked for years now about the domino is about to fall. This is it. We've bought all these studios, and now it's time to line up all these titles and just let them drop month after month after month. And we have still yet to get to that. And I think we've had some shining gems and we've had some duds that have really postponed that. And my worry is I look across the year once again and I go, man, where are these hit titles? I'm excited for Hellblade 2 next week, but to me, that's not enough. It's not my preferred game. I think it is a beautiful, incredible art house-like game that's going to give you the very best, but I don't think it is the culture shock game changer that Xbox as a publisher and a brand need to change that. And so I am nervous that we will go another year, into next year, wondering, is this the time they deliver on that promise of epic first party?
So you don't, so like Indiana Jones,
Indy,
Avowed.
Indy, I like. Avowed, I'm not fully sold on. And so, yeah, there's these worries in my mind. I think about Perfect Dark. I think about State of Decay. There are so many titles and franchises that they have that have the potential to be incredible, right? I mean, Indy with Machine Games, that seems to be a layup, right? State of Decay is a very good game. If you've played State of Decay 2, the building blocks are there. They're just a couple of small missteps in that game with that shared world that prevents it from being great. And I think State of Decay 3, if that team is focusing on that, can deliver that. I truly believe that Perfect Dark could be that awesome third-person action narrative adventure that we desire as Xbox fans, that we see across the way over with PlayStation. But I fear that it's not going to be that. I fear that it will be another generic first-person shooter-esque game that has light spy espionage thrills to it. And we look back on it in a couple of years and they go, we just had a tough time finding the fun and making it a good experience. And so, yeah, there's a lot that I worry about there, right? Fable, I think, will be a hit. Playground Games has proven that, but also Playground Games so far has only proven that they make racing games. And so that is also, I mean, as much as we can get hyped and excited about that, the track record hasn't proven to me that Fable is going to be perfect yet, but I have a lot of faith in that team. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go down the line then, because I feel like when it's more platform specific, it's easier to kind of like disseminate. So let's go with same question, Nintendo. What's something that has you a little skeptical or maybe nervous with Nintendo moving into a new generation?
That the Switch 2 won't still be powerful enough to justify as an awesome home console. I'm really disappointed that the Switch never saw the big glow up. I appreciate them elevating the screen, and I love what they did, making this a dual purpose console for at home and on the go gaming. But it's just tough to play games that aren't the first party, truly dedicated hardware software games to the hardware that shine. Everything else doesn't shine. Everything else doesn't look good, and it doesn't run good. And I really am there desiring a Switch 2 that can prove to me to be a powerful at-home console to make me go, man, this thing freaking rocks, because the idea of what they've done with the dual purpose console is awesome. And I think is what gamers have always desired. I've always wanted to pick up my Xbox and be on the go with it. I've always wanted to sit at home and play with it. And so the Switch did that for me. But, you know, I made the joke before that it's running at, 24 frames a second, and it doesn't look good video quality wise. I need something better. But I will say, I know a lot of people say, well, look at Mario, look at Zelda. Those games look great. And I don't know how the first party teams do it, because they absolutely crush that. But other than that, that console just makes me nervous.
Okay, Mr. Joanna Dark came in just
right in time. Yeah, right in time. We're talking about Perfect Dark.
Nintendo and Perfect Dark.
Yep.
This man came in right in time, like he heard Kojima's name. But but anyways, what's cracking? Good to see you, Mr. Joanna Dark. Thank you for coming through this evening. But now we hit Xbox, we hit Nintendo. Now my question for you is going to be geared for PlayStation in particular, and then I'll move on to lastly PC. But for PlayStation, we've seen quite a shift from them from last generation to this generation as well. We've seen a shift in particular VR. Now VR is going to be soon accessible on the PC, which I'm sure Greg Miller's turning. Thinking about that a little bit, but there's that. There's the subscription service, which sure they're not as invested in as Microsoft is whatsoever. Sure, but the big thing has been game sales and PC integration, right? And it seems like they want to bolster up their game sales, which who doesn't in this day and age? Everything, it seems like everybody wants to work with PC except Nintendo right now, right? So so with that being said, even Square Enix is even bending the knee and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, we got to go everywhere now." So so with that being said, like you seeing PlayStation and how they seem to be moving, what worries you about PlayStation in the upcoming future?
PlayStation has been delivering on what I really like and want to see. I mean, the quality, high blockbuster titles are there. I think a lot of us were very worried about them kind of diving deep into live service games. And I think we've seen a number of them kind of pulled back on and also canceled, but we've also seen a big win, which is Helldivers 2. That is a live service game that PlayStation absolutely delivered on and is a ton of fun. What I'm nervous is they will continue to go down the route of waiting 6 months to a year to 18 months to release a lot of their first party titles onto PC. I would love to see PlayStation adopt the Xbox approach where it's day and date with PC titles. Of course, we all love money. You know that. And I think getting those PC sales is fantastic day one. And so I would love to see a world where PlayStation really adopts that PC day one mantra a lot more. My worry is we don't, and we have to wait, like Ghost of Tsushima just coming to PC now, what, a year to 18 months for a lot of these titles to come out over there. I hope that they have a shift doing that and bring their games to PC sooner than later.
Yeah, it feels like that wow effect. You're kind of like siphoning that feeling away from players that you're going to eventually give it to anyway. So it's like, why are you waiting to do it? It's like it's almost like you're waiting until the food gets cold to then serve it.
Yeah, I mean, it works for them, right? I can't discredit the game plan right now because people are still buying it and it's still super hype. But I think we saw with this live service game of Helldivers, right? Of like that day and date with PC made that game go over the top. It was already going to be good, I'm sure, on PlayStation, but like to have a larger audience on PC be able to buy that game, support it, and be a part of that population that all these live service games needs was a massive win. And so I'm looking for that from Marathon, with Bungie now being a part of that and them elevating their live service titles. And I want more first-party titles that are the single-player narrative-driven games to be released on PlayStation day one would be really awesome.
No doubt. And Iman Rich earlier said, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. Quality is sacrificed. Creativity is stifled. I think he's trying to say or stipled. And watered down. Budget's too high, so corners will be cut. Nobody takes any risk among a heap of other things. And I guess to close out that kind of section right now, before we go to the positive, because I always like to try to end it with positive. So like just to kind of close out the negative section. Let me go on ahead and ask you, like you've seen a lot of. And I mean, we've seen a lot of like closures and stuff like that as of recently, and teams kind of getting divulged into other teams and stuff like that going on. So with that happening, and then also, with the idea of Matt Booty coming out saying, we need to focus on more, flashier games for the community that are kind of smaller titles. And I mean, with the PlayStation leak that came out a while back, they even said, we're looking at maybe $50 being a bar, right? And that's where we're seeing Hellblade at currently. Do you
all
feel
digital
like
$50? Yeah.
Do you feel like that transition, or do you feel like there is like a massive transition oncoming with not only just pricing but also length of time to complete a game?
Yeah,
I just heard about Assassin's Creed, the new Assassin's Creed that's coming out. I'm interested in if they're maybe taking some steps to maybe pull back from going so Valhalla on it.
Yeah, I think Rich has a good point there, right? When you ask me what I'm nervous about, and we just talked about it, right, is, limiting creativity, going after just the bottom line all the time and saying, make me a copy and paste of this, right? And I think I've always been impressed with what Phil has said, maybe not what the team is clearly doing and showing in their actions, but Phil did say on our podcast with Kind of Funny XCast, right, of like, I want to empower the creativity of all of our studios and allow them the chance to do what they want to do. And I thought we saw that with Pentiment, with Hi-Fi Rush, of giving these smaller, quote unquote, passion projects like Grounded a chance to be made and succeed and support that, right? I think of what, of course, Tim Schafer and the team do over with Psychonauts and that studio, right? Of like, they make wacky, weird, creative games. And that's what I worry about. I think if you want to be most nervous about something and be real, is these giant corporations limiting the creativity and saying, we're not going to support you going out and making something new, making something different that tries something. And we're going to say, no, just make me a copy and paste of Call of Duty. That's a big nerve. That should probably be on all of our forefront.
Okay, so now I want to know, like, the opposite, like most excited things you are looking forward to. So let's go on ahead and go in reverse. Or actually, I forgot to ask you about PC. So PC, what's the one thing that drives you insane, or like, I guess, that you don't like in the direction that it's going with PC gaming right now?
I mean, updating drivers.
So just the upkeep?
No, yeah, just I mean, it is probably the upkeep of like coming as a console kid and buying that console and having it sit there for 5 to 7 years and then buying a new one, right? When you look at the PC side of things, yeah, I have to spend a pretty penny to get the badass rig that will run everything, right? And have that up to date and have to go get a new GPU and look at your CPU over years and going, do I need more of that? What kind of memory do I have? Like, PC gaming is a little bit over my head and is a lot of money, but it is very good. And I like the marketplace there. I think that's what we see now with what Phil and the team are talking about. I love having Steam. I like having the Epic Games Store. I like having these different avenues where I can buy games that might be on sale, that might have that exclusivity, all in one place, so I can jump on and do that, right? And so I have no problem with the PC right now that I can see. I mean, besides, I would love PlayStation to bring a lot more of their exclusives over there. Nintendo, you do Nintendo, but one day maybe. Think about it.
Hey, man, who knows? With all that emulation stuff, you never know, right? But anyways, so the opposite. I want to know what you're most excited for when it comes to PC now, especially, well, actually, I'm not going to lead you at all. Go on.
Oh my God. I mean, well, now you let loose the master of hype, right? Now we get to talk about things that I love, which is the excitement, the enthusiasm of video games. That is what makes me smile. I love talking to people and seeing their eyes light up as they share with me what they love, what they enjoy, what they share with their friends and their family. And so, yeah, when we talk about hype and the fun, I mean, gosh darn, you know what gets me excited? NCAA football returning after a decade, paying those kids the money that they deserve, bringing in something fun, right? Sure. If we're being really real, it's probably going to be a copy and paste Madden with a reskin of NCAA football teams. And am I mad about that? Absolutely not. Because as a kid who grew up with both of those and bought them all the time, I just love the pageantry. I love the schools. I love the presentation of NCAA football. And it is something that always got me. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that. I love that they figured out a way to pay those kids, right? That was the big thing, was these kids are putting their bodies on the line. They are driving TV and marketing dollars, softball, swimming, gymnastics, football, basketball. You can go down the line. All these kids deserve to get paid for what they bring to the institutes. And I am so happy that the NIL worked out and all these kids are getting paid what they deserve. I love seeing a CU Buffalo on the front of the cover with Travis Hunter. You know, we don't even have to talk about Dion and the hype that Colorado got. We're talking about a kid that plays both sides of the football, a kid that's playing 120 snaps a game, and he is a freak of nature on the cover of NCAA football. How freaking radical is that? And so I'll start you off with that because it seems like you're going to get excited about NCAA football like me too.
Yes, I am, but I'm still playing this. I just played this earlier this week, so like, man, I'm so hyped for NCAA 25 to come out. It's been 11 years, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
I mean, dynasty mode. I want mascot games. I want to recruit blue chips for years to come. I want to have EA work on the integration like they did before, where NCAA football speaks with Madden, where I play 4 years of college football and then I can bring that character somehow over into my Madden save and draft that character in Madden and play as that. Like, these are things that should be going hand in hand with each other over at EA. And I would love to say that I trust and believe they are doing that. And I mean, that's basic stuff, so they should be, but you know, sometimes you can doubt EA, but they'll do it. I hope they do. They'll do it.
No doubt. Shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark with the $2 super chat earlier when we were talking about some of the new games and whatnot. He said, I would love an Infamous collection. And I think a lot of people would love to see Infamous come back. Sucker Punch is clearly working, but it seems like Ghost of Tsushima is more on the list right now. But I'd love to see them kind of go back to Infamous, especially with kind of the new consoles and stuff like that. I don't need them to remake any Infamous. I mean, unless they're starting from scratch from the first one and like really bringing it back and stuff like that. But I don't need like a remake of the last Infamous. I don't think anybody needs it. I think that's a good game already. Doesn't need to
you want to continue off the hype of that? Backwards compatibility, the ability to play old games and keep them alive. Sure, it's not all of them. And sure, we're about to shut down the Xbox 360 store in July, but there are almost 1,000 games that I can play from the original Xbox to the Xbox 360 currently on my Xbox Series X and S and have those tied to my digital library forever. I love that. And I am so happy about that because there are games like Infamous. There are games that I would love to have with me throughout my life. And I think we'll one day tread into murky waters of what that really looks like. Of course, you're holding up your NCAA football where, yeah, it works if you have the disc, but if you don't have the disc, you don't get to play it. But I mean, we get to play those games. I played 50 Cent Blood on the Sand a couple months ago, right? Like, that's a game you probably would never play again because it's lost to the sands of time. But thankfully, the team at Xbox and Jason Ronald and the team were like, yo, we're going to figure out a way to do this again because we were hitting this moment of those are getting lost and we might not ever be able to play those. And so, hey, you bring up Infamous Collection. I love that we can still celebrate and play these older games. And you have teams like NVIDIA who do NVIDIA Remix, where they make these old games almost feel like new again, buffing the frame rates, making them have a high gloss, look to them presentation wise. Like, we're living in a golden era of like, you can play old games, new games, you can play games. And that's pretty freaking wicked.
No, I absolutely love it myself because I mean, I have a lot of like older disc games. I also have a pretty good digital library, and going from one generation to another generation and being able to continuously play on a old save from like 15 years ago is pretty special. You know what I mean? Like that cloud save for your progress is so detrimental. Being able to like I can literally pull up any old game that I have. So like GTA 5, I haven't really played a ton of that story since like 2015. Like I beat the game like back, when it came out in 2013. But like I continuously played a little online all the way up until like 2015. But I can go back and see my progress from that today. You know what I'm saying? Like 11 years later on a totally different console. And I originally started on the 360 with that game.
It is wicked and amazing to have that save come with you. And like, how cool is that, right? And so I want that to continue for years to come. 5-10 years down the road, I would love to pick up a Starfield save just like I picked up Oblivion and go, oh my God, look at this save from 2014. Now I'm saying, look at this Starfield save from 2024. That's awesome. And that should be celebrated and something that I love. I hope you're ready because I'm gonna keep bringing you the hype. I got a couple more things to bring you the hype on. Some more hype is Xbox, the brand and the ecosystem that I love. I believe in them and I believe in the studios that they oversee and hopefully are empowered to create awesome stuff. You look at the Xbox library and you go, man, they have some really dope things in the work. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is going to be awesome, right? You look at Outer Worlds 2, you have Elder Scrolls 6, you have Avowed, Fable, Indiana Jones, Contraband, Blade, Everwild, you have Call of Duties. Like, I really believe and am excited to see Xbox as a games publisher. I think there's other things to talk about, but right now, the Xbox ecosystem has me excited because they have so many talented developers and studios underneath the umbrella, from Bethesda to ABK to their own first-party teams, that there are going to be a lot of high-quality, awesome titles on the way. And hopefully, we'll continue to celebrate them thanks to Game Pass, right? I know Game Pass for me has been a lifesaver. Game Pass for me is awesome because it is $15 a month and instantly gives me this giant games library. And I get called an Xbot, a cheerleader all the time. But when I was a kid, if I could have looked at my mom and said, hey, Mom, instead of buying me two $60 games, why don't you just give me $15 a month? We could go over there and I could have an instant library of over 100 games, and they're added in monthly. You have deals like EA Play, where now NHL 24 has just been added to Game Pass. You have Madden going in there. I can play 10 hours of free play. Like, there are games to play on the Xbox, and I'm excited and I dig that. I mean, shucks, you know me, I love PlayStation 2. I'm playing Final Fantasy Rebirth. Wicked great time. They're about to make a Wolverine game. That's crazy that we live in a world where Spider-Man has one of the best video games ever, and now they're going to make a Wolverine game riding on the back of X-Men 97. That's crazy. That's so hype. That's so lit. It's awesome, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you transitioned over to PlayStation, because I was going to ask you that next.
Of course,
man. So now I don't even have to.
No. I love, I think me, Paris, and Gary, and everyone at Kind of Funny too, has always said that we love games and we love gaming everywhere. And I mean, Paris has said it many of times, right? I wish that everybody could experience all of these games. We hate exclusives. I know that exclusives sell consoles and are important to the business, and maybe that world is changing, right? But like, exclusives suck, because I want all of us to be able to play these games no matter where you play, right? I don't want to ask you to go spend $1,500 to $2,000 to buy a Switch, a PlayStation, an Xbox, and a PC, right? Like, that's crazy talk. I would much rather just have all these games everywhere so we can celebrate them and play them together. And I know that's not how the world is, but like, I love playing games and I love getting to see people play all these awesome games. And there's a ton of great games. I think PlayStation makes awesome games. Nintendo makes awesome games. Xbox makes awesome games. Third-party publishers like EA, Sega, Atlas, go down the list, make awesome games. And so we live in this world where I know it's easy to get lost in social media, which is odd. When we talk about my old job and like my life before Twitter and the video games industry, it was always a celebration of games. There was never this kind of like hatred or line in the sand of, oh, I can't play that, or you can't do that, or I don't like this game because it's on this console. It was always like, hey, James, what are you playing? What's the cool game? Oh, I'm playing this game called The Last of Us. It's crazy. It's so much fun. And I would go, man, that's wicked. I'm playing this game. And we never had that. And so I do hate that we live in a world like that, but I wish everybody could play all these games. And the one I do want to celebrate, since we're celebrating people and gamers all around the globe, is I want to celebrate people like you and the Iron Lords and my buddy who I always mispronounce their name, Claude Brielle, on Twitter, who celebrate games and make gaming cool and make me feel cool being a part of the Twitter space, where I get to see their incredible, awesome graphics and designs, where they share all of the Xbox library in these cool ways. I get to see people like you make dope podcasts. I get to see people like Ben Kenobi make Xbox coins that never in my life would I think we get to see something so cool in a gaming world. When I grew up, we barely even had an Xbox t-shirt. Now I'm getting to see Xbox merch everywhere. I get to see people online sharing their passions. I get to see talented developers around the globe share their indie games, help them get funded and go on to create something new, like studios or big budget titles. Like, gaming is freaking rad. And so if you want me to get hype about something, It's about games and the people who make them, the people who celebrate them, and the people who play them. That's what gets me super hype. And that will be my final stuff for you, so I don't eat up your whole night.
No, you're good. I mean, I love that, and I definitely loved hearing about all the Xbox stuff. I'm a big time Xbox guy here. I'm like first and foremost, I have PlayStation 5s. I have a couple Switches, and I have a ton of these old school consoles over here. But like primarily, I mean, I was raised with that Xbox, man. Like I just loved waking up in the morning, turning on my OG Xbox, hitting the playlist on there, and just letting it.
Yep. Oh man,
was,
how cool!
It was unbelievable burning stuff onto that, and then it just like the innovation just continued with the 360, and then the One with the Snap feature and stuff like that, and then now we have Game Pass as well. That's not really a piece of the console per se, but it is kind of that like ecosystem central part where I can like play something on either my Series S or my Series X, and then turn the kid wants to use the Series S and the wife wants to use the Series X. I can turn on either my Steam Deck that I put Windows on, or I can turn on my PC and continue exactly from where I left on, whether it be Starfield, Persona, or whatever, as long as it's in Game Pass. And I just think that whole ecosystem idea that's being more and more adopted as time elapses is just something that I just cannot stress enough how dope is. Right? Like
great life. Cool.
And to me, it still blows my mind that I can go to the most basic of places, tell somebody about it, and they had no idea that thing even exists. Like to me, that's just outrageous. And as an Xbox fan, that pisses me off a little bit, because it's just like, come on, man. Everybody knows, like, if you're hungry, go to McDonald's. Like, why can't we figure this out for, like, if you want to play some video games, there's Game Pass right there. Like, why can't it be that known and knowledge and or not knowledgeable, but like noteworthy as in my opinion, because it's just like you have a platform that everybody usually has to log into, or like they have to put their password in and sign on to and stuff like that. So to me, it's just like the fact that people don't know about this stuff, it's baffling to me. It's insane. But as for the positivity within gaming continues to go, I got a few other questions that I want to ask you before we tie this stuff up and get out of here. The next one that I have to ask you is, within this new kind of day and age of gaming, what would you personally like to see happen? No, like not just with Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo or PC, but like what is something that like you would like be shocked to actually see be implemented?
Well, I think I'm almost there on having crossplay enabled for every title moving forward. Like, I think I had a multiplayer 2022 wish list, and at the front of it was like, every single game should have crossplay. There should never be a question. There shouldn't be a big issue. I don't know why we continue to battle that. Like, if you have a game that has multiplayer in it, you should be figuring out crossplay. And so for me, it would be crossplay, cross save, right? Like you just brought up, right? It doesn't matter what piece of plastic I sign into. I would like that save to come with me. I am willing to buy your game twice, but I would like that save to come with me. There should be no reason why I boot up an Xbox and move to a PlayStation or a PC and that save doesn't come with me. We got to find a way to get that save to travel around. So for me, my gaming wish would be full crossplay on all these games so everyone can play them together and have the best online, support possible with the community. And then also give back to the players with this cross save. Don't make me chase down a save and only play in one spot.
Okay. All right. Xbox seems to have a handheld that they have been secretly working on in the background that none of us really have any idea about. What are your thoughts on it, and what are your what are you anticipating seeing from something like that if it were to come to fruition?
That's an interesting move. It's an exciting move. I brought up how much I loved and dreamed and desired the Switch from an Xbox perspective. And so it's kind of odd for me because, yeah, I feel like that is the move. That is an exciting idea to possibly put out maybe another 2-console SKU of an Xbox Series X, we'll call it, the powerful console at home, and then maybe have the Xbox Series S replaced with a dual purpose handheld slash, smaller, little bit weaker device of a home console. And so, yeah, when I hear these rumors, the ideas of what could be, it gets me excited. I also think about how Xbox has doubled down on the cloud, though, because I can play Xbox games almost anywhere. And I guess another dream of mine would be my full Xbox library playable in the cloud. We're like so close, but we're not there, right? It's just Game Pass titles. We haven't gotten to the point of all of my games are playable via the cloud. I know that you can play them with remote play, but we are still missing that next step. And so it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, I need a dedicated handheld, when we're like, well, what if we could just stream them from the cloud? We're that close to being able to play it on my phone and moving forward like that. But if they were to go down the route of a powerful home console, like Sarah Bond and the team have talked about, and possibly a handheld, which I know a lot of people and maybe even Phil desire, I'm interested in that and I want that. But I need it to be powerful enough to justify, right? I don't want this weaker version that's going to have problems down the road. I want an Xbox Series S, but handheld form. I don't know if that's possible, but it's got to be up there. It's got to be strong enough to do that.
No doubt. And then with PlayStation, we hear rumblings, still no specific word from them themselves, but a PlayStation Pro to be in the works. With this idea of a PlayStation Pro coming out, are you interested in getting it, or is it a little too late in the generation for you to want to get into that? But if you do say, hey, I am interested in this, what are some things that you would be wishing would be available or have the compatibility for?
I am someone who has grown from jumping on these mid-gen refreshes to now. I am not, because of how little I play my PlayStation. I am very pleased with how powerful both of these consoles are at this time. And so I am actually going to finally grow up as a human being and be a little more responsible and not jump on this day one like I normally would. I play my PlayStation very little. I play it for the exclusives. I love the exclusives. And then when it comes down to my day-to-day, moment-to-moment, it is either Xbox or PC. And so I will most likely avoid that mid-gen refresh, but I'm always looking to see something more powerful. I think it is something that Jeff Grubb has talked about in the past that really made my eyes open of like, it's a more cost-effective and cheaper version for them to start putting out and moving away from that as, parts and materials change from the original launch to the mid-gen refreshes. But I would be looking onward to PS6 to get me to the next console that I would want to buy there.
Okay. Let me throw this at you and see if it makes you change your mind at all. PS5 Pro backwards compatibility.
Now you got me interested. Now you got me interested. Now we talk, but here's the issue. We've had this interesting blurred line of Xbox has already given me 1,000 titles. And so here on the PlayStation, you would have to give me those titles that Xbox doesn't have right now, right? And I think the issue that Xbox has really hit a point with is it's not about the games that need to be there. It is the licensing fees. It's the music rights. It's a lot more than just, hey, we don't have Def Jam Vendetta because we can't get it to run. No, they can probably get that to run. It's just they don't want to pay anybody to be able to have the rights there.
They
so unless
Def Jam for the music,
unless PlayStation's like, hey, Mike, which I do. If you see on the wall, I know it's kind of blurry, but I have my NBA Street, I have my NBA Ballers, I have my Street Hoops, my NFL Streets, my Def Jams, my NHL Pros. Unless they're like, hey, your PS2 games can plug into this disc drive and go, you're not going to get me unless you have a better catalog, which I don't know if they would or not, but I love that. I think that's a parity that PlayStation needs to get on, which is that backwards compatibility, and they got to make that happen somehow. I love that.
That'd be hot. I'd love to see EA Big come back.
Come on,
compatible with.
Come on, EA, stop holding back on us. I'll get, I think it's easy to talk trash on EA, and I like to celebrate them sometimes because there are things that I really love from them. But I mean, Skate, right? They are bringing back Skate, and that excites me. If you want to talk about getting hype, I freaking adore Skate.
Are
Skate
you worried that it's going to be free at all?
No, free to play. I think hopefully this might be a new learning experience for EA, and maybe we can see these yearly annualized titles change up the formula, as Greg Miller once wanted a long time ago, of like, let's stop doing these annualized titles and switch to more of a maybe games as a service, roster updates every single other year, instead of me paying $60 to $70 every single year for essentially a roster update. And so hopefully, in my mind, Skate comes out, does very well, free to play on mobile as well, finds a market with that monetization strategy of selling you boards, decks, wheels, clothing, and that is able to suffice EA and the corporate overlords to say, hey, maybe one day we switch up the formula. I don't think they ever need to do that because I know that those sports titles sell very well every single year, just like Call of Duty, so they'll probably never do that, but it would be sweet to see this free-to-play work and maybe start to shift the tides.
All right, and for this question, for this specific question that we're on right now, this is the last platform I'm going to ask you about, Nintendo. And I'm not going to ask you the obvious question about the new Switch and whatnot. I'm going to ask you what you personally think will be the big jump for Nintendo Switch with the integration of internet further into their console, seeing that they've been kind of on the outside looking in compared to PlayStation and Xbox. And you dang near have to use a cell phone if you want to have a party chat with anybody on a Switch. So where do you see the integration with more internet, possibly more emulation of backwards compatible games and stuff like that with the upcoming new and improved Nintendo?
Man, you made me laugh there because I forgot about the Nintendo party system and how that party
terrible
going down. That was insane. I currently have a dongle on my Nintendo Switch dock just so I could plug into the internet, which is insane to think about. But that's what you get when you build something so different and so unique. You're going to have hurdles like internet and having that stable Wi-Fi connection or direct connecting via a dongle because, we built something different this time around. Yeah, I would always love to say, just like I talk about visuals and performance, I would love that internet kind of foundation to be way better. Their online infrastructure is abysmal. It is head-scratchingly odd and weird, and it seems like they're just not geared towards that. You can see by their games that's clearly not their number one priority, having a big internet online community at all. It is very much you and the people on the couch playing. What I would like to see out of the Switch is that I'd like to see that better. There's some bozo decisions over there. You have a game like Mario Strikers, which was just poised to be so dope and have a really great online community. And then you take an 4v4 8-player soccer game, but then say, no, you can't play 4v4 online. It's just a head scratching decision. And so that one hurt me a lot. I hope Nintendo Switch
is what got me because I was like, I want to play. Me and my boy play like versus other people. And
that's crazy.
Can't do that.
I'll give them credit that they created room codes and you were able to have an online room, but it is insane to think that is promoted as an 8 to 12 player game on the couch. But then when you get into an online lobby, you can only have 4 people on the stage. That's crazy. I'll shout out that you can watch people in the stands and like have up next and stuff, but that's crazy that we can only have 4 people play. That hurts me. That hurts me inside.
Yeah, that really like irked me the wrong way when I got my Switch because I was so excited because I'm an OG Super Smash Brothers fan and also a Melee stan. Like I loved Super Smash Brothers Melee. That was my joint. So like I didn't have the chance to experience it on Wii or Wii U. So when I got my Switch, I was like, here we go, rubbing the hands together. I'm about to create a fire. I'm running, getting a lot of friction. I'm ready to go. And I bought it in particular to play with my boy, and we could only play versus each other. And it made me hot. Because I was like, man, I just went out and spent $60 to just play versus him. Like we could do that in Tekken or do that in anything else. Like I'm used to couch co-oping and playing versus like a bunch of enemies on a crazy high level with just a stock of like 30. And you just go at it for like an hour and a half or something like that. Can't do that.
I do want to give him a little credit. I know it's not what we wanted. I think we would all prefer the floodgates to be opened and the switch to be flipped when it comes to that back catalog, right? But you got to give him credit. They're at least starting to do that and trying. I think as a Nintendo fan, like you brought up with the Game Boy and Pokemon and how special that was to me, you would love them. Just be like, put all those games, figure it out. Why are we taking so long? But at least they're trying, which I'll give them the minimal credit of, hey, you're trying. And that's good enough for me. But I would love for the switch to be flipped and be like, hey, here's all those games you wanted from back in the day.
Okay, so before we go to these quick hitter questions, because those are the ones I like to hit before I end the show, I do have to ask you about the upcoming showcases and stuff like that are happening. And I got to ask you if you're going to be appearing at any of these. So let me go ahead and just ask that first.
Lay it on me.
Be showing up at any of the upcoming showcases and or conferences events like PAX West and all that stuff. So where'd your head at?
I will not be appearing at any showcases. Hello, Xbox. I'm always talking to you. I would love to host one day. Give me a call. Hello, Call of Duty League and Fortnite. Call me up. I'd love to shoutcast. But no, I won't be appearing on any of your screens out there. I will be at SGF, celebrating Summer Games Fest and the Play Days with Jeff Keighley. I love what he's done. I'm a big E3 fan. I know a lot of people in the video game industry were ready to see E3 die, but I loved Gamer Heaven. I loved people coming together over the summer months and playing video games in this giant, awesome environment. And I think what Jeff Keighley has created for the video game industry and, the media side of things is really something special, and he's killing it on all ends. But I'm excited for that. I will not be at IGN with their live event. I will not be at PAX West as of this time or TwitchCon. But, you never say never. You never know if we could do that. But Evo, Call of Duty, HCS, maybe one day I'll be shoutcasting there. But until then, I'm just I'm going to be on the internet having fun with the Kind of Funny crew.
Okay, so progressing with that question, I have to ask, so these showcases, do they mean a whole bunch to you when they go to show things that you know that you may not be able to play for a little while?
Oh, yeah, of course. Because to me, it's a celebration. There's something cool to come around and have the whole gaming universe be all eyes on one thing and celebrate that and see cool game reveals, awesome games that they're excited to play now, months in the future, years in the future. And so, yeah, I'm never mad at it. I'm always excited. And I do know that, sometimes you show a game and maybe it's like Everwild or, Fable or Perfect Dark, where now it's going to be years of waiting and wishing and hoping. But I think it's awesome to reveal that to the world and share that some talented team that you might not know about or maybe you love is working on some cool title. And now from this point forward, you'll be able to look forward to that. You'll be able to learn more from dev diaries, or maybe they'll share it on a blog post. And so, yeah, the Summer Games, event, the showcase season, I'm all about. It's hype and I love it.
No doubt. All right. So you're excited for the upcoming showcases. I know I'm absolutely pumped about what's going to be going down in gaming. I mean, last year was amazing with games, and it really started to kind of turn up around this time last year. And I'm kind of expecting the same thing to kind of happen this year, where parts of the summer, especially with NCAA football, and then onto the fall and winter. The fall and the winter area seems like it's going to be extremely cracking. It's really going to be a lot of different things coming out during that time. But now that we
is it not cracking? That's it. That's the issue. Is we say it's, it looks like it's gonna be. When is it not cracking? Because right now you and I got too many games to play. I think the world's got too many games to play.
We're up on last year.
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't feel like it slows down. It's so funny. We say, oh man, it's quiet now, but it's no, there's just games to play all the time. There's awesome games out now. You think about Animal Well with Donkey and the team over there, who just put out a banger there, right? I just got to play Homeworld 3, which is fantastic. It's there's just nonstop games to play, and I love that.
now that we got to the quick hitter questions, I got to ask you first and foremost. This is my first question to you. What is your favorite studio, and what game best represents that studio?
What is my favorite studio and what best represents that studio? Shucks, what is my favorite studio? I mean, it's probably got to be, let's go down the list. There's Blizzard, who makes World of Warcraft, and I freaking adore World of Warcraft, and I love Diablo, and I'm so happy to see those teams bring Diablo back to the mainstay. There are the Call of Duty teams, the Ravens, the Treyarchs, the Sledgehammers, underneath the Activision umbrella that make the Call of Duty games that I know and love and can't get enough of. So shout out to them. There are these smaller teams that make indie games that I absolutely adore all around the globe that I really dig, like Shredders, right? This snowboarding game that came out of nowhere, and I don't think enough people give love to Shredders, the video game. I got to interview them and talk with them. Shredders is from Foam Punch, and this game is SSX Tricky meets Skate. It is a true-to-life snowboarding game that is my passion, right? As a mountain kid, I love being able to play a snowboarding game, and Shredders was that. And so got to give love to them. I mean, the Coalition and what they do with Gears and the idea of what they're going to do with Unreal 6 has got to, or Unreal Engine 5 and Gear 6 has got to excite you. 343, as much crap as I give them and sometimes am, down on them, guess what? 343 has the keys to Halo, and I want Halo to succeed, and they made one freaking killer game in Halo Infinite. They didn't stick the landing on the live service side, but man, oh man, they make that game jumping after Halo 4 and 5, and so I'm hoping that we can see 343 really get up and make a great game.
No doubt. Next question. What game for the rest of this year or games are you most excited for that are coming?
We talked about NCAA football, very excited. We talked about Indiana Jones, very exciting, of course. I want to take it over to Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm excited for Microsoft Flight Sim. I don't think enough people give that as much love as it deserves. I'm sure you've probably tried it. I think we all flew around the globe at least once or twice, whether it be on PC or Xbox or even in the cloud. But the idea of what that Microsoft Flight Sim team is going to do with these activities and jobs gets me so excited, because they gave us a taste of that over the past couple of years with the Top Gun expansion, where you got to ride in the Black Star and go Mach 10. Like that thing was crazy. So cool. They had the Dune expansion where you got to ride the orthocopter and go literally land the helicopter, pick someone up, and fly out of the sandstorm on Arrakis. Like that was crazy too. And so they've given us these teases of like what will clearly be, and the idea of, search and rescue operations with a helicopter or dropping water over a wildfire is really cool. I love that idea. And so I really want to see what this team can do with a sim-like experience.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, I've been playing Flight Sim since like 95. Right?
That's awesome.
So, like, I remember how flat the world was and everything, and how little pixels that you got through that game and whatnot. I remember in Flight Sim 98, I was trying to fly into Mount Fuji all the time. Like, seeing Flight Sim in its evolution is like magical, kind of, right? Like now I'm able to fly over my like childhood house and be like, that is literally what it looks like. Like,
oh my gosh. And the live weather, right? Remember when there was that giant hurricane off the coast of Florida and everybody was trying to fly over there to see what it looked like in the video game? Like, man, that team, y'all crushed it. Y'all made something really exciting. And I know I'm bringing up a lot of Xbox games, but like, that's Insomniac is one of my favorite developers. They make Spider-Man. Spider-Man's incredible. They're going to make Wolverine. That's lit. Naughty Dog is out there making The Last of Us, which is just like truly incredible to see and is wicked dope. You got Sony Santa Monica, who is making God of War, and that game freaking rocks. You know who doesn't get enough credit that I love talking about and getting to share is Sony San Diego and MLB The Show. MLB The Show is the best sports sim. They give you the best, like most well worth your dollar experience, and now it's available on Game Pass. But what the team with Ramon Russell did with MLB Storylines, the show Storylines, where they highlighted Negro League Baseball and those superstars. And now they're doing that in season 2 alongside Derek Jeter, the captain. Like, come on, man. These are stories that are beautiful and need to be told. And somehow doing that in a video game medium with this edutainment, he likes to call it, is truly beautiful and awesome. And so shout out to Ramon Russell and that team. You make something fantastic that I would love to share with the world.
Edutainment.
Edutainment. I love that word.
That's quite a phrase to coin right there. But next question for you is, if you were to revive 2 dead IPs in this era of gaming, what would those 2 dead IPs be?
I mean, that's easy. We take it right back to the hardwood. We take it to the streets. NBA Street would be back instantly for all of you. And yeah, I'd probably do NFL Street as well, but like, I would immediately get that lifted right up off the ground for all of you, because you deserve to have it. We all deserve to have it, and it should be back. Another fun one, shucks. I'd bring back StarCraft. StarCraft is lit. StarCraft 2 is out there, but like, I think StarCraft and Warcraft 3 are some of my favorite games around. I love what they did with Heroes of the Storm, the MOBA, and I'd bring that back for sure. That MOBA is so welcoming and inviting to new players who have maybe never experienced that genre, and made it so much more fun and less daunting than what League and Dota is. And so those games I would be all over if I was filling the team of like, how do I make StarCraft into Warcraft? Those RTSs should be alongside Age of Empires Go. Hey, what's up with Heroes of the Storm? How do I bring that thing back to life and give a great MOBA out there?
No doubt, no doubt. All right, now we're at finally the last 2 questions, and I like to smush them together like a damn ham sandwich. All right.
Okay.
So, no pun intended. But my question to you, and this is different than the question I had earlier, which I was talking about what frustrates you with like each of the platforms. Now I'm asking you as a whole, when it comes to gaming in general, what frustrates you? What frustrates Snowbike Mike when he wakes up, or not wakes up, but like when he sits and ponders and thinks, man, gaming is really frustrating because of ...
People being jabronis on the internet. Hey, you're listening out there. You know who you are. People being jabronis and getting uptight about what other people are playing on their systems, their games of choice, their time. What I hate seeing is people not celebrating and sharing their enthusiasm. I hate seeing people being jabronis and being mean to others about what games they like, what games they want to share out to the world, what games they choose to play with their time. We only have so much time here on planet Earth, on this spinning rock in the middle of the cosmos that somehow has granted us life. Please enjoy your time and play games, and let's not worry about what other people are playing. That's what gets me uptight.
Okay, well then on the flip side of that, what to you would be a dream come true in all of gaming? So like not in particular PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, whatever, just like something that would like shut it down for That's you to where you're just like, oh my God, I would have never thought that this would happen.
Well, I mean, it was announced today that we will see this fall of 2025. But you know what would shut this down right now? December. Grand Theft Auto comes out and the world heals and we all come back together and we celebrate. We play Grand Theft Auto and we just all shut up and enjoy a great video game. Because man, oh man, there are very few moments like that where the gaming world unites and comes together and just celebrates and shares the fun. We've seen it many of times with some cool games, but we don't get enough of it. And Grand Theft Auto is going to be that, where everybody just shuts up on social media and has a good time. And I can't wait for
that. I mean, that's a fact right there. Everybody will definitely shut up and be finally too busy to talk.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. It'll be great. But Mr. Snowbike Mike, thank you so much for joining me today here on the TSWS Gaming YouTube channel. I really have had a good time being able to sit here, talk with you, converse about gaming, and just chill and get to know you.
No, thanks,
I
homie.
met you in person before I had you on the show, which is something I don't really get to say about a lot of people, which is amazing. So it's great to meet you in person, actually be able to shake your hand and everything like that. But it's even, but it even kind of like, you know, it's a little extra like whipped cream on top of that pie that showing up actually on my channel and, you know, representing like you do. So thank you so much. If you could, for me, one last time, just shout out and let everybody know where they can find you.
Of course. I mean, first off, big thank you for having me on. Thank you for your patience of getting me here finally after all this time. And most importantly, thank you. You made it all about me today, but I would love to come back and have it about us, where you and I get to talk. I know today was focused on me, but it would be fun to hear your thoughts and all that. So please call me back. We'll do it again, and we'll share both of our sides, which would be great. But of course, it's your boy Snowbike Mike. You can find me over at Kinda Funny Games on Twitch and on YouTube each and every weekday. Of course, we're covering the nerdy news you need to know about with Games Daily, moving right in to, of course, the Daily Games Cast, where we're breaking down big reviews, previews, gaming topics that we want to talk about, and then into the live streams after that. That is my job. That's my passion. I love Kinda Funny Games, and I want you to go check it out if you have time, because what we do there is really, really dope. We give you video game news coverage. We give you video games analysis and talk. And then, of course, we play games, which I really love doing. So go check me out over there, y'all.
No doubt, you guys. Make sure you go check him out. He's a dope dude in person and on camera. He's the exact same off.
You tell him, just like King David, I am like this in person. You can tell him that, because King David didn't believe it, and then he was like, oh, it's just Mike. That's just Mike all the time.
Yes, it is literally. This man is always seemingly excited. Like, you'd think that he was on his way to his next beer every time that you talk to him in passing. You're just like, oh man, this dude's about to go turn up. He's about to go have a good time. But thank you again for being here. Thank you so much to everybody that tuned in watching. Shout out to everybody. This is like so lopsided right now. I got like 5 people watching on YouTube and 567 watching on Twitter.
Hey, if you're on Twitter, come over there on YouTube, drop a little sub. It's free. Support the man. He's got a great channel and a great podcast. You know that.
I'd appreciate it, y'all. I'd really appreciate that for sure. But we're gonna go on ahead and head up out of here. Please, Snowbike Mike, please stick around for just a quick second, because I got a question to ask you right before you get up out of here. But for everybody that's sitting here tuned in watching, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening, learning a lot about Snowbike Mike here this evening as well. This is your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming signing off for TSWS Gaming. And as I always say, keep it gaming or keep it moving. Y'all have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. Deuces.
They said we said